Have you ever wondered why Satan so desperately wanted the body of Moses after his death? This question, although intriguing, has deep roots in biblical accounts and mysteries surrounding the final fate of one of Israel's greatest spiritual leaders. Moses, the great prophet, was the figure who led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt to the gates of the Promised Land, carrying with him not only political and spiritual leadership, but also divine revelations in the form of laws and guidelines for the chosen people. He became a direct channel for the delivery of the Ten Commandments, a light of faith and hope that sustained Israel during their journey through the desert. But what happened after his death? What the Bible recounts is surprising and mysterious. According to the scriptures, specifically in the book of Deuteronomy, God hid the body of Moses in a secret location, and his burial place was never known to the people. This fact alone was already an unusual event, as Moses did not have a tomb that could be venerated or physically remembered by the people. However, something even more intriguing unfolded after the prophet's death. In the book of Jude, verse 9, it is mentioned that Archangel Michael and Satan disputed over the body of Moses. This spiritual confrontation between Michael, one of God's most powerful and loyal servants, and Satan, the adversary, raises profound questions about the reasons behind Satan's desire for the body of Moses. This scenario raises several questions. Why was Moses' body so important to Satan? What could the enemy of God gain from it? These questions lead us to dive deeper into the events and biblical symbolism surrounding Moses' death and this peculiar spiritual dispute. Moses, the man who brought the divine law, who led the Israelites out of Egypt with God's help, and whose people were led to the Promised Land, now stood at the end of his journey. His life was a succession of direct encounters with God, profound revelations, and extraordinary miracles. But near the end of his mission, Moses made a mistake that cost him dearly and almost destroyed everything he had worked for. This mistake occurred at a crucial moment for the people of Israel. Under pressure from thirst and despair, complaints and pressure began against Moses for water. God then instructed Moses to speak to a rock so that water would pour out for the people to drink. However, under intense pressure from the Israelites, Moses did not follow God's instructions exactly. Instead of speaking to the rock, he struck it with his staff, and speaking to the people said, "Do we have to bring water for you out of this rock?" By using the term "we," Moses implicitly suggested that he himself had some participation in the miracle that was about to occur, as if God's power were under his control and not entirely dependent on divine will. This mistake may seem small at first glance, but it was highly significant. By using the expression "we" and striking the rock, Moses took for himself part of the glory that was exclusively God's. He, who had always been a faithful and submissive servant, now made a serious slip, attributing to himself a power that only belongs to the Lord. Thus, God immediately informed him that he would not enter the Promised Land because of this failure. Imagining all that Moses went through, the challenges faced, the tests and sacrifices, only to have his journey end without stepping foot in the Promised Land, is truly astonishing and evokes deep reflection on the consequences of disobedience and lack of humility, especially for those in positions of spiritual leadership. After Moses' death, the event is solemnly narrated in Deuteronomy 34:5-6, where it is written, "So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, as the Lord had said. He buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor, but no one knows where his grave is to this day." This passage not only recounts the death of Moses, but also highlights an unusual act of God, who personally took care of the prophet's burial and ensured that its location remained a secret. The burial of Moses by God himself, with no known location, raises many possibilities. Perhaps by keeping Moses' tomb secret, God was protecting the people from potential attempts at idolatry, preventing them from venerating or even diverting their faith toward a physical location or object. This divine choice may have been a spiritual measure to ensure that the Israelites would focus solely on God and not on Moses, no matter how important he had been. However, the narrative doesn't end there. The conflict described in the book of Jude reveals that even after Moses' death, God's enemy, Satan, still desired something regarding the prophet's body. The battle between Archangel Michael and Satan for the body of Moses is an extraordinary event that reveals a little explored spiritual dimension. Satan, known as the adversary and accuser, may have wanted to use Moses' body to incite the people to idolatrous practices, turning Moses' tomb into a place of veneration that would divert the Israelites' devotion from the one true God. Thus, the dispute over Moses' body goes far beyond mere symbolism. It represents a spiritual battle over Moses' legacy and the purity of Israel's impulse. By preserving Moses' body in secret and sending Archangel Michael to guard it, God ensured that Moses would remain a living reminder of divine power and not an idol to be worshipped. This reflects God's concern for preserving the spirituality and faithfulness of the people of Israel, keeping them away from potential distractions and idolatry. Finally, this biblical passage reveals not only the end of Moses' life, but also the intensity of the spiritual conflict surrounding the greatest spiritual leaders and the constant effort of evil to divert the faithful. The life and death of Moses thus become a symbol of conformity, faith, and the importance of recognizing that all power and glory belong exclusively to God. If this content was helpful to you, I ask that you support the channel by subscribing so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Together, we can illuminate more and deepen our understanding. I appreciate your presence and may God bless you. If this content was useful to you, please support the channel by subscribing so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Together, we can enlighten more minds and deepen our understanding. I thank you for your presence and may God bless you.